Welcome to the Chinese Lore Podcast, where I retell classic Chinese stories in English. This is episode 42 of Journey to the West. Last time, Sun Wukong revived the dead king of the Wuji kingdom, and then the pilgrims took him back to his palace, where they confronted the demon who had murdered him and assumed his likeness and his throne. With his cover blown, the demon fled. Sun Wukong chased after him. They fought in the air for a bit, but that demon was no match for Wukong, so he retraced his flight path and fled back into the palace. He charged back into the main hall, where the king, the officials, and the pilgrims were waiting. He twisted his body and assumed another form. A moment later, Sun Wukong charged in, and to his surprise, he was confronted with two versions of his master, Sanzang, both standing in front of the steps to the throne room, both looking exactly alike. Wukong raised his rod and took aim at one of them, but that Sanzang shouted, "Wukong, no, it's me!" Wukong then shifted his aim toward the other Sanzang, but that version also shouted, "Wukong, no, it's me!" Crap. Now, you would think that Sun Wukong's fiery golden demon detecting eyes should not have a problem telling human from demon, like they always do, but plot convenience demanded otherwise in this case. With the two Sanzangs looking, acting, and sounding exactly alike, Sun Wukong was at a loss. He asked his fellow disciples, Zhu Bajie and Sha Zeng, which was which, but Bajie said, "You were making all that racket up in the sky. I looked away for a second, and the next thing I knew, there were two masters. I don't know which one is real and which one is fake." Wukong then uttered an incantation and summoned the 18 gods who were tasked with protecting Sanzang in secret, as well as the local earth and mountain spirits. He told them, "I'm trying to tame a demon, but he has taken my master's form and looks exactly like him. Since you all have a secret understanding, you go ask my master to go up into the throne room, and then I'll capture the demon." But the demon overheard this, so he quickly ran up into the throne room. Sun Wukong thought the one left standing at the bottom of the steps was the demon, so he raised his rod and made for the real Sanzang. Thankfully, all the protector gods intervened and told him that the demon had preemptively gone into the throne room. Wukong pursued the demon into the room, but then the demon dashed back out, grabbed Sanzang, ran to the crowd, and did a little spinaroo with him. And once again, no one could tell which was which. This left Sun Wukong in a fit, but then he saw Zhu Bajie chuckling to the side. Wukong raged, "You useless moron! Now you have two masters to order you around. Why are you so amused?" Bajie laughed. "Oh, brother, you call me dumb, but you are even dumber than me. What's so hard about finding out which is the real master? Just put up with a headache for a bit and ask those two masters to recite the band-tightening spell. Sha Zeng and I will each take hold of one of them. Whichever one doesn't know the spell must be the demon. What's so hard about this?" "Brother, bless you!" Wukong exclaimed. "Only 3 people know that spell. It originated from the Buddha, who taught it to the Bodhisattva Guanyin, who then passed it on to my master. No one else knows it. All right, masters, please recite the spell." So the real Sanzang started muttering the incantation, and Sun Wukong's head started hurting. When it was the demon's turn, he of course did not know the spell, so he just mumbled some nonsense, and it was immediately found out. "This must be the demon!" Zhu Bajie shouted as he raised his rake to attack. But in order to raise his rake, he had to first loosen his grasp on the imposter, and in that moment, the demon took off again, flying into the air. Zhu Bajie let out a shout and flew after him. Sha Zeng also took out his Buddha staff and joined the pursuit. Sanzang stopped reciting his spell, and Sun Wukong, shrugging off the headache, took to the air as well as all 3 disciples surrounded the demon and engaged in a dogged fight. Zhu Bajie and Sha Zeng blocked the demon in, and Sun Wukong soared above them and was about to deliver the killing blow when suddenly an auspicious cloud approached from the northeast, and a voice called out, "Sun Wukong, stop!" Wukong looked and saw that this was the Bodhisattva Manjusri, or Wenshu if we go by his Chinese name. He is one of the 4 great bodhisattvas of Chinese Buddhism. Those of you who listened to my Water Margin series might remember that when one of that novel's more colorful characters, Lu Zhishen, became a monk to hide from the law, he did so at a well-known monastery that was dedicated to this bodhisattva. So anyway, Wukong recognized Wen Shu, so he put away his golden rod, greeted the bodhisattva, and asked what he was doing there. Wen Shu said, "I have come to help you tame this demon." Wukong thanked him, and Wen Shu took out a magic mirror. This was a demon-reflecting mirror, able to reveal a demon's true form and freeze him in place. Wukong then called Zhu Bajie and Sha Zeng over, and they all looked in the mirror. They saw that the demon was in fact a ferocious blue-maned lion, and Wukong recognized it as Wen Shu's mount. "Bodhisattva, how did your lion come to be a demon here? Why did you not domesticate him?" Wukong asked. "Oh, he didn't escape," Wen Shu explained. "He was sent here by the Buddha's decree." "What? That beast turned into a demon and usurped the throne, and he had a decree from the Buddha?" Wukong exclaimed. "Considering how much suffering I've had to endure protecting the Tang monk, where's my decree?" "You don't understand," Wen Shu said. "This monarch of the Wuji kingdom had always been kind to Buddhist monks, so the Buddha sent me here to take him to the west to make him a golden arhat. I couldn't reveal my true identity, so I turned into a mortal monk and asked him for some food. But after I asked him some tough questions that he couldn't answer, he thought I was a wicked man, so he tied me up and threw me into the palace moat for 3 days and 3 nights. Thankfully, some arhats rescued me. When I informed the Buddha, he dispatched this demon to come here and push the king into the well to soak for 3 years as payback for the watery calamity he put me in for 3 days. Every mouthful we eat or drink is predestined, as they say. But now that you are here, you have rendered service." But Wukong was not satisfied. He said, "You may have settled your score with the king, but how many people has that demon harmed?" "He hasn't harmed anyone," Wen Shu said. "Ever since he took over, in these 3 years, the weather has been fair, the country stable, and the people peaceful. So what harm has he done?" "That may be, but he has been sleeping with the women of the harem, sullying their bodies, and violating the rules of morality. Is that not harm?" "Oh, he hasn't sullied them at all. He is a castrated lion." Zhu Bajie now reached under the lion's nether regions and checked, and he laughed. "This demon is like a teetotaler with a red nose. He's been saddled with an undeserved reputation." "All right, in that case, you can just take him with you," Wukong relented and told Wen Shu. "But if you had not come, I would not have spared his life." Wen Shu now muttered an incantation and shouted, "Beast, show your true form, now!" The demon immediately reverted to his true lion form. Wen Shu put a lotus flower on the lion to tame it, hopped on its back, and flew off on a beam of light. Wukong, Bajie, and Sha Zeng flew back to the palace, where they were greeted by a grateful king and his equally grateful officials. Wukong then recounted how Wen Shu had tamed the beast, and hey, you know what? That demon that killed you, impersonated you, and stole your throne for 3 years really wasn't that bad. Quite a good king for everybody else, actually. Just then, the officer watching the palace gate came to report that another 4 monks were seeking an audience. Zhu Bajie panicked and said to Wukong, "Brother, did that demon use some trick to impersonate the Bodhisattva Wen Shu to fool us, and now he's turned into a monk to come fight us in a battle of wits?" "That's nonsense," Wukong scoffed. "Let's see what these monks want." The visitors were summoned, and they turned out to be monks from the royal monastery where the pilgrims had stayed. They presented the royal regalia that Wukong had told them to clean. Wukong was delighted and told the king to change out of his late brother's clothes and back into his kingly attire. He then ascended the throne, and the prince returned his white jade scepter. But the king refused to sit down on his throne. Instead, he kneeled in the center of the hall, wept, and told the pilgrims, "I was dead for 3 years, but you masters have brought me back to life. How can I dare to proclaim myself king again? One of you should assume the throne, and I am willing to move out of the city with my family and live as mere civilians." But Sanzang, of course, refused. The king then asked Sun Wukong to take the throne, but Wukong chuckled. To tell you all the truth, if I wanted to be king, I could have been king for all the kingdoms and empires under heaven. But we're used to the lazy life of monks. To be a king, I would have to grow my hair out, and I won't get any sleep. I would be restless with every report from the borders or every natural disaster. How can we get used to that? No, no, you go back to being king, and we will remain monks and keep working on our cultivation. So the king relented, sat down on his throne, and received homage from his court. He declared an amnesty in his kingdom and bestowed rewards on the monks from the royal monastery. Then he held a huge feast for the pilgrims. He also summoned artists to paint their likenesses to be kept in worship in the throne room. Having set things right in the Wuji kingdom, the pilgrims were ready to get back on the road. The king, his family, and the court officials presented them with mountains of treasure, gold, silver, and silk. But Sanzang declined it all, asking only for their travel papers and telling Wukong to get the horse ready to go immediately. So the king instead asked Sanzang to sit in his royal carriage, while the king, his officials, his queen, and his prince accompanied the carriage on foot all the way out of the city. Only then did they let Sanzang get out. Elders, on your way back from fetching scriptures, you must stop in my kingdom once more, the king said. I shall obey, Sanzang replied. The king, with tears in his eyes, then took his leave and led his entourage back into the city, while Sanzang and company resumed their journey west. In the blink of an eye, a couple weeks had passed. One day, the pilgrims came upon, what else? Another imposing mountain. Sanzang, as usual, was alarmed and told Wukong, hey, we need to be careful here. But Sun Wukong, as usual, laughed it off. So Sanzang pushed his worries to the back of his mind and spurred on his horse, trotting to the foot of the mountain. There, the pilgrims sized up the mountain, and it looked treacherous. Its peaks reached for the sky, while its chasms plunged toward hell. Clouds seemed to always billow, and black mist hung persistently. The nooks and crannies seemed to conceal spirits and demons. Monkeys and deer roamed, tigers and dragons lurked, and the sound of cave doors opening sent birds and wild beasts flying and darting. As the pilgrims looked on, a red cloud emerged from a crevice in the mountain and rose into the sky, where it seemed to condense into a ball of flames. Sun Wukong was alarmed. He rushed toward the horse, grabbed Sanzang by the leg, and pushed him off the saddle, shouting, Brothers, stop! A demon approaches! Zhu Bajie hurriedly grabbed his rake, and Shazhen brandished his staff as the three disciples surrounded Sanzang. But a moment later, Wukong looked up again and saw that the red cloud and fireball had all but dissipated. Master, you can mount the horse and get back on the road now, he told Sanzang. But you just said that a demon was approaching, Sanzang said. How can we travel? Just now, I saw a red cloud rising from the ground into the air, where it turned into a ball of fire. I figured that was a demon, but then the red cloud quickly dissipated. It must have been a demon just passing through, and it didn't dare to harm us. So we can keep moving. Zhu Bajie chuckled. Oh, brother, you and your slick tongue. A demon who's just passing through? Ha! What do you know? Wukong scoffed. If the demon lord of some cave was holding a feast, he would invite demons from all the nearby caves and mountains, and they would come from all directions. But they would just be focused on going to the banquet and have no intention of harming people. That's why I said it's a demon passing through. Well, regardless, Sanzang knew that they had to cross the mountain to continue their journey, so he got back on the horse and continued forward. After traveling for a bit, he suddenly heard someone shouting, Help me! Disciples, where could that shouting be coming from, here in the middle of the mountain? He asked with surprise. Oh, master, just keep going, don't worry about it, Wukong said. Yes, but don't worry about other people's business. Just keep moving. Sanzang relented and kept going, but within less than a mile, he again heard someone shouting for help. He said to Wukong, That doesn't sound like a demon. If it were a demon, they might shout, but there would be no echo. We have heard this cry for help twice now. It must be someone in trouble. We should go save them. Dude, when has that ever been true of any demon in disguise pleading for help on your journey? But I guess there would be no novel if Sanzang would just listen to Sun Wukong and ignore every shady plea for help on the way west. Wukong tried again to dissuade Sanzang. Master, put away your compassion for today. You can be compassionate again once we have crossed this mountain. You know the saying about clinging to grass and attaching to trees? Things can cultivate themselves into spirits. Most kinds are okay, but there's one exception, the python. If such a snake cultivates itself for many long years, it can become a malevolent spirit, able to even know a person's childhood name. If it hides among the grass or in a mountain hollow and calls out to someone, all is well if that person does not answer. But if he answers even once, the creature will seize his vital soul. That very night, it will follow him and, without fail, take his life. So keep moving. As the ancients said, if you escape, give thanks to the gods. You must not listen to this cry for help. Thus prodded, Sanzang listened to Wukong and kept on riding. Wukong, meanwhile, thought to himself, that damn demon just keeps calling out. Where is he? Let me make sure he never comes face to face with my master. So he told Sha Zeng, lead the horse and go slowly. I need to relieve myself. When Sanzang and company went a few steps ahead of him, Wukong uttered an incantation for moving mountains and shortening distances. He pointed behind him with his golden rod, and in the blink of an eye, the pilgrims had surged past the peak and left the demon far behind. Wukong then caught up to the rest of the party and continued forward. But before long, Sanzang heard the cry for help again, this time coming from behind them. Disciples, the person in trouble is cursed with bad luck. We must have passed him, he said. You can hear him calling from behind us. Zhu Bajie chimed in. They were in front of us not that long ago. The wind must have changed directions. Oh, who cares which way the wind is blowing? Just keep moving, Wukong said. So everyone in the party just kept their mouths shut and kept moving, wishing they could cross the mountain in one stride. As they were walking, Wukong happened to look up and he saw another red cloud hovering overhead. Brothers, be on guard! That demon is coming again! He shouted as he once again shoved Sanzang off the horse. Ba Jie and Sha Zeng again hurriedly gripped their weapons and surrounded their master. But in the next second, Wukong looked up again and saw that the red cloud had once again dissipated. So he asked Sanzang to get back in the saddle and keep going. But Sanzang had had enough. He asked Wukong, You just said that the demon was coming again, so why are you telling me to keep going now? It's still that demon who's passing through, Wukong said. He won't dare to mess with us. Sanzang now scolded him angrily. You damn monkey! You just keep jerking me around. When there were demons, you said all was fine. And then when we're in a peaceful spot, you keep scaring me by shouting about demons every other step. Whether it's real or fake, you keep pushing me off the horse, and then you say that it's some demon that's just passing through? If you make me fall and get injured, what then? As Sanzang grumbled, Wukong replied, Master, don't blame me. If you hurt your hand or foot, that can be treated. But if you get abducted by a demon, where will we go to find you? But that just made Sanzang even angrier, and he threatened to read the band-tightening spell. He only relented after Sha Zeng pleaded time and again on Wukong's behalf. Just as Sanzang was climbing back into the saddle, he heard another shout of, Elder, save me! Sanzang looked up and saw a young boy, almost naked, tied up and hanging from a tree. Damn monkey, you're too lazy, Sanzang chided Wukong. You have no kindness in your heart at all. You're always just thinking about acting out and committing violence. I told you it sounded like a person, but you kept insisting that it was a demon. But look, isn't that a human being that's hanging from the tree? With Sanzang getting so cross with him, Wukong acquiesced, partly because there was no opening for him to do anything, and partly because he was afraid Sanzang might recite the band-tightening spell again. So he just lowered his head and made no reply. Sanzang now went to the foot of the tree, pointed up at the boy, and asked, Whose child are you? Why are you hanging here? Tell me, and I can save you. Oh, elder, to the west of this mountain, there's a dead pine ravine. Next to the stream, there is a village. I'm from there. My great-grandfather's last name was Hong, which, by the way, means red. Because he had great wealth, he got the nickname Millionaire Hong. He has been dead for a long time now, and his property was passed to my father. But in recent years, my father has thrown a lot of our money away, so he is nicknamed 100,000 Hong. He liked to make friends with heroes of the land and to lend his money out at interest. But then crooks swindled him and made off with his money. So then he swore an oath to never lend a single coin again. The people who had needed to lend money then had no recourse but to band together into a violent gang. They stormed our house, took all our money, killed my father, and abducted my mother because she was attractive. My mother couldn't bear to leave me, so she carried me in her arms as she accompanied the bandits to their mountain lair. But then, at their lair, they wanted to kill me. Because my mother pleaded bitterly with them, they decided to not kill me with a blade, but to leave me hanging on this tree to die of cold and starvation. Then those bandits disappeared to who knows where with my mother. I have been hanging here for 3 days and 3 nights, and no one has passed through here. But I must have accumulated some good karma in a previous life to be fortunate enough to encounter you. Elder, if you can exercise great compassion, save my life, and deliver me home, even if I have to sell myself, I will repay your kindness. I would never dare to forget it even when I'm buried under the sand. Hearing that sob story, Sanzang told Zhuba Jie to go let the boy down and untie him. Just as Dum Dum was about to do so, Sun Wukong couldn't help it anymore and shouted at the boy, "Damn beast! I see right through you. Don't try to pull one over on us. Since your home was raided, your father killed, and your mother abducted, then who are we going to leave you with? And how will you thank us? This is all lies." The boy wept and said, "Elder, even though my parents and possessions are gone, we still have some farmland and some relatives." "What relatives?" Wukong pressed. "My other grandfather lives to the south of the mountain. My aunt's home is north of the ridge. Li the Fourth, who lives at the head of the ravine, is married to my aunt. Hong the Third from the woods is a distant uncle. I also have cousins who live around the village. If you're willing to save me, once we get to the village and meet my relatives, I will tell them all about how you rescue me. We will sell some of our land to repay you." Zhuba Jie now took hold of Wukong's arm and said, "Brother, why are you interrogating a little boy? There is reason in what he is saying. Those robbers could only take his portable possessions, but they couldn't have taken his house or fields. Once he tells his relatives how we saved him, no matter how big an appetite we have, we would never be able to eat all they can offer. Just save him." And so, Ba Jie took out a monk's knife and cut the ropes, letting the boy down. The boy, with tears streaming from his eyes, kowtowed in front of Sanzang's horse. Sanzang told him, "Mount my horse and we'll take you home." "Elder, my arms and legs are numb from being hung up, and my back hurts too. Besides, I'm a simple peasant. I don't know how to ride a horse." So Sanzang asked Ba Jie to carry the boy, but the boy, wiping his eyes, said, "Elder, my skin is too tender after being frozen, and this elder's mane is going to prick me. I don't dare to have him carry me." "Okay, then Sha Zeng can carry you," Sanzang said. But the boy quickly said, "Elder, those bandits all had painted faces and fake beards. They look like this elder. I'm scared out of my mind. I don't dare to have him carry me either." So by the process of elimination, then, it was up to Sun Wukong, who accepted the task with a smile. The boy was also eager with that arrangement. Wukong gave the boy a little lift to test out how heavy he was, and found him surprisingly light. "Damn demon, you're destined to die today," Wukong chuckled. "How dare you use your tricks in front of me? I know you're one of those." "Elder, I came from a good family. I just ran into a calamity. What do you mean, one of those?" If you're really human, how can you be so light?" "I'm a kid." "How old are you?" "7." "Even at 7, you should weigh more than this." "Well, it's because I wasn't breastfed as a baby." "Alright, whatever, I'll carry you. But if you want to pee or poop, tell me first." So Sanzang, accompanied by Zhuba Jie and Sha Zeng, traveled on ahead, while Sun Wukong followed with the boy on his back. Didn't we just see this a few episodes back when he was carrying the demon Silverhorns in disguise? Well, get ready for more recycled script, because as he walked, Wukong was holding a grudge against Sanzang. He thought to himself, it's hard enough just to walk across this treacherous mountain, and yet he wants me to carry this boy? Even if this boy is actually human, with his parents gone, who will we hand him off to? I should just kill him instead. So yeah, that's basically a straight lift from the Silverhorns episode. As he was thinking this, Sun Wukong suddenly felt the load on his back increase 1,000-fold. He laughed. Oh son, you're using some magic to try to pin me down? As he spoke, Wukong furiously pulled the boy off his back, smashed him against a boulder, turning him into a meat patty. But he wasn't done. Wukong then ripped the boy's limbs off and left his carcass in a torn-up pile on the side of the road. This is definitely not one of the more child-friendly chapters of the novel. Just then, a powerful gale whipped up, sending rocks and sand flying into the air. Moments later, the wind stopped and the sun reappeared. Wukong caught up to the rest of the party. He found Zhu Bajie struggling for breath at the foot of a cliff, Sha Zeng kneeling in front of a hill, the luggage cast aside on the road, the horse trembling and neighing, and its saddle noticeably devoid of Sanzang. Crap. To see who's got hold of Sanzang this time, tune in to the next episode of the Chinese Lore Podcast. Thanks for listening.